For 4 years now, the grantees of the Plow Foundation's Aging Initiative have been working to improve the lives of seniors in Memphis and Shelby County. Tonight we examine the progress that has been made. And we'll answer your questions about Parkinson's disease. Funding for the Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. In 2014, the Plow Foundation focused its attention on issues affecting our aging population in Memphis and Shelby County, seeking grant proposals from organizations that could address these issues. One of their major areas of focus was elder abuse. The Plow grant has enabled the creation of a coordinated response team with police, prosecutors, and social service agencies working together to stop elder abuse. The foundation also focused on aging in place initiatives designed to keep our older citizens in their homes for as long as possible. The Plow grants are producing aging in place specialists and helping qualifying citizens modify their homes to meet their aging needs. Through the No Hungry Senior Project, the Plow Foundation's grantees are identifying seniors who are food insecure and delivering them life-sustaining meals. Tonight, we update the progress of the Aging Initiative. Over 4 years ago now, the Plow Foundation chose to focus its time, its attention, and its money on aging issues. Why did the Plow Foundation choose aging issues versus anything else that they could have chosen?
Yeah, so Chris, that's a good question. And before I say anything else, I want to thank you and WKNO for all that you all have done for addressing this issue. I think you've made it more aware to the public. People are more familiar with this issue now than ever, I think partly because of some of the things that you all have done. The foundation started down this path because we were getting a number of requests for projects that related to seniors, helping seniors with their house, helping seniors hunger. And on all our requests, we say, okay, who else is funding this? What are other partners? And on a number of requests, there weren't a lot of funding partners. In fact, maybe one or maybe two. And so we thought, well, that's odd. And we were funding some of these small projects, but we didn't see that they were funding nationwide. So we started looking into it. We hired Katie Midgley as a research analyst, and she started doing some research and found out not only in Memphis, but across the country, foundations were not providing funding to aging issues. And so you have this combination of not many organizations or even governments funding the senior issues. At the same time, a growing need exponentially. The foundation put $14 million, which is a substantial amount of funds for anybody, but particularly for our foundation, to address three primary areas. Hungry seniors, which we call No Hungry Senior. Second is elder abuse, which became coordinated response to elder abuse. And then finally was aging in place, and you've heard and you've stated that many seniors want to stay in their home. They don't want to go to a nursing home.
Well, let's talk about those issues one at a time. Let's start with elder abuse.
Yeah.
A huge topic. You've spent 4 years and put money into it. What success have you achieved in elder abuse?
It has been astounding. I mean, we're not, of course, here to say we've completed our project, but I mean, I'm telling you, we've made a lot of progress in this. And the coordinated response to elder abuse was exactly that. It was bringing together a lot of organizations, a lot of nonprofit organizations and governmental organizations to sort of have a one-stop shop for victims of elder abuse. And so we wanted to make people aware of this issue that's out there that's not being reported, but at the same time we wanted to make sure there was an infrastructure in place that if that increase in reporting occurred, that those clients would be able to be served. And so we brought together about 20 agencies. As a result of that, they have been meeting now twice a month for the past 4 years. Had received over 700 cases now of elder abuse that they have reviewed, provides comprehensive services for those victims of elder abuse. In addition to that, the state of Tennessee passed a law, it's called the VAPIT, Vulnerable Adult Investigative Team, and their primary responsibility is that across the state, all district attorneys across the state are mandated to form this team, this VAPIT team, that will investigate elder abuse issues and prosecute if possible. And then finally, we formed a Senior Protection Coalition. And what that is, it's sort of a policy-making group, if you will, advisory group for elder abuse, for CREA, for VAPIT, and also, we hope, a fundraising arm. It won't be a board, but it'll continue to be an advisory group. So we feel like it's been a success for the partnerships that have been developed. Many of these organizations didn't even know what each other did.
Well, that's amazing
they
to
didn't
me.
even know that
so much of it is just a matter of communication.
Exactly.
Everyone's sitting down at the table.
Coordination and communication. That's all it really was about. That's easier said than done. I mean, you and I can sit here and talk about that, but it's difficult. A lot of people put a lot of work into making that happen, particularly the Family Safety Center. That's exactly what it was. And then taking responsibility for it. In other words, accepting responsibility that we're going to make a difference here.
Putting some laws on the books that have some teeth, give prosecutors and police tools.
People and make the people who are victims, because you got to remember, many of these victims are victims of family members, and they may be their only family member that they have, and they think, oh, well, if this person who is depriving me of food or medicine or finances, if they go, what happens to me? What CREA provides for is a protection, a safety net for them. So then there's a little bit more of a comfort level of saying to this person, someone's going to report this. And others are afraid to report it. But now we think we have that system in place so that reporting will increase. Our next step really is awareness, and that's what we're going to try to move forward there.
Let's talk about aging in place. Habitat for Humanity, the lead agency on that one. What success have you had in these past 4 years regarding aging in place?
I think that, of course, the numbers are amazing when you think about it. We've had, they've worked with over 370 homes. And you think, oh well, I know we did a study. It was 8,000 out there, 8,000, and that's it's a very small percentage of that. But when you think about the impact that has on the potentially for those individuals being forced to go into a nursing home because they can't live in their home anymore. So a $10,000 to $15,000 investment could save the community, you, me, and everybody else, about $50,000 to $75,000 a year in costs of a nursing home. So when you take that 370 homes, you're talking about multi-millions of dollars, $10, $15, $20 million a year that potentially you're saving. So that's an impact on it.
One of the things that struck me when I was interviewing Dwayne Spencer from Habitat, I don't think when they went into this project that they knew the scope of the problem, really. I mean, so many of the houses they went into were, they needed more than just grab bars in the bathroom. They needed roofs and floors, and the problem was serious here in the city.
There's a great story about a man who worked all his life, and he'd been a handyman. He was in his 70s. Every time it rained, he would have to get a ladder, sort of climb up in top of his attic, and put a bucket, put a bucket around. So he had rain coming in. He had mold, so his breathing, his health issues were a problem. But he was a hard worker. He worked all his life, and he'd taken care of things. But he reached a point where he couldn't replace his roof. And so that's those. Now he's safe. He has a home. He has a safe home. He's going to stay there a lot longer, live there a lot longer. Again, getting back to, it's great for him. We're happy for him. We love the fact that he had those services, and his quality of life has improved so much. But in addition to that, society is benefiting by the fact that we're not going to have to pick up the tab for possibly him going to a nursing home somewhere in Medicare, Medicaid, picking up that bill, which all of us pay.
Right. Food insecurity, the No Hungry Senior program. Yeah. How would you rate the success of that?
Again, the impact has been substantial. I mean, over 600,000 meals to 1,700 seniors. I think the sustainability issue there, more than the other two, is a factor. Versus before, we talked about coordination, communication. Coordination, communication doesn't produce food. Right. So you still have to buy food.
And that's what I think. I found out that, and many people don't understand that in the program like this, you actually do have to buy the food.
We get it from the food bank.
It's not really, the bulk of it is not donated food.
Yeah, you just don't find it somewhere.
No, and the reason is the seniors often need a specific diet. There are specific nutritional requirements.
That's correct. Yeah, and so that's part of it. But having said that, the impact's been great. Work is being done, continuing now. Now we've kind of combined a couple of our projects with Aging in Place and to some degree No Hungry Senior, and this project called Capable, which is I think you've heard about it. Johns Hopkins has been touting this initiative across the country, where it combines housing, rehabilitation of the house, make the home safe for seniors, some sort of physical therapist there to see what needs to be done and to oversee that senior to make sure that the house, what is done to the house does make it safe, and then finally someone there to provide some sort of nourishment for that senior so that they don't go back into the hospital. Again, it gets back to it's a great quality of life issue for that person, and we feel great about that from a social service standpoint. But once again, it saves money. What we'd like to do is go to the folks that are paying these bills, TennCare, Medicare, and so forth, and say, hey, this could be an investment that you could make.
Well, you're getting a little bit into the area of sustainability. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about each program. Sustainability for elder abuse beyond this grant period. What happens?
Well, we've already had some funding provided to us by the Shelby County government to provide housing, temporary housing for those that are abused. Commissioner Mark Billingsley has taken a lead on that and provided funding to Meritan, one of our partners. I think it's going to be sort of more or less like this coalition came together, putting the pieces on the table. The funding's going to be the same answer. Sustainability.
And CREA will stay in place.
CREA will stay in place. CREA has now it has been institutionalized, if you will, into the Family Safety Center. And the Family Safety Center, my hat's off to them. Their board took the lead, took the responsibility. Again, it gets back to someone saying, hey, I'm just going to do this. That's what they did, and they have taken that responsibility. So it's been institutionalized into that. Then in addition to that, we've got the District Attorney General, who is Amy Wyrick, who has taken a responsibility, a lead in the VAPIT initiative. And then we've got this Senior Protection Coalition, which former Mayor Luttrell was involved. We're hoping to get our new county mayor involved, and so and that's moving forward as well. So all those things together, I think we have a system in place now to continue to sustain CREA.
All right, what about Aging in Place? Because you yourself mentioned 370 served out of maybe 8,000 that were identified. So sustainability sounds like it needs to be very important.
And again, it gets back to this Capable initiative, which started last year and is continued for the next 2 years, will be a sort of a good test case for that. We really are hopeful that our government leaders see that it's a dollar well spent. We think it saves quite, it's a dollar spent that probably saves $100 over the life of the individuals. And so we think that government officials, local, state, and federal, are going to begin to see the benefit of that.
So it sounds like you're hoping to sort of tie together the sustainability of Aging in Place with sustainability of the No Hungry Senior
to some
food
degree.
insecurity
Yes,
project.
Exactly. That is our hope.
Yeah. I know in the past in this show, every time I talk to people at the Aging Commission, there seems to be always about 2,000 or so people on the waiting list, specifically for food.
Right.
And I know we've managed to slow that increase, but we haven't managed to make a real dent in it. How can we make a dent in that in the future to make this program sustainable and feed more people?
Yeah, I think that really is going to be about raising funds and individual funds and so forth. And just because to the degree that governments, local and state, you know, years ago, local government used to put substantial funds into MIFA, and that has been cut back because of all the budgetary problems that occur. You know, will we go back to that? I don't know. I think at some point in time, people have got to realization that is a need in this community. And these folks are, like I said, the gentleman I mentioned, they're hardworking people. They worked all their life. And it's not so much that they're asking for a handout. You know, they really just need someone maybe just to provide it. You know, get it to them. I mean, they don't have anyone to prepare it. They don't have the physical ability to do that. So in some cases, it's that. I think we're really going to have to study ways to do it in a smarter way. But again, it still gets you still have to buy the food. Yeah. You know, there's only coordination and can only go so far.
You talked about obviously foundations like yours, government. If they can play a role in this tight money time.
Right.
Is there a role for the private sector, for corporations?
Yes, I mean, and they have stepped up. There's no doubt they have stepped up with funding from MIFA and various other projects that have to do with their program. Of course, this is their 50th year anniversary, and so I think they will get a lot of folks that will be stepping up going forward. But I do believe that with that initiative particularly, it really is about raising funds, and it's and awareness too, but primarily raising the funds.
Well, let's talk big picture here, because I came across a statistic recently. The Census Bureau put out their latest projections, and they project that by 2030, the population of Americans 65 plus will surpass the number of children in this country for the first time in U.S. history. We'll have more old people than we will have children. So what does that portend for the future of a city like Memphis or Shelby County or the state of Tennessee or America for that matter?
Yeah, it's significant. It's significant in all the policies that will be implemented. Yeah, and I'm seeing it now. I mean, just on a personal basis. I've had several friends come to me and with their parents, they can't find a nursing home for them to go to. I mean, and these are folks with funds. There's nothing available for their parents, so their mother, their father, to go. And so we're really almost at a shortage right now in that area, as it relates to things like addiction. You know, people think, oh, when somebody turns 65, they just become a upright citizen and stop drinking and stop taking these drugs. And no, whatever habits you had when you were 20, 30, 40, 50, you're going to have them when you're 60 and so forth. So as a society, we're not going to let people rot away. We're going to do something about it. So it's better to take a proactive approach to that now and figure out systems, put systems in place, which is what we've been trying to do with the Plow Foundation. Put systems in place in advance of these problems that are going to be overwhelming, to deal with them in an efficient way. And so I think that's what our government leaders are going to have to do. You know, sometimes in politics it's reactive, and it's going to take a crisis, I'm afraid, or maybe it won't, but many times, sometimes it takes a crisis.
You have to go to the edge
for government and political leaders to sort of say, hey, we've got to do something about this, and whether it's aging or whether it's global warming, whatever it is, it does seem to, we do seem to put these issues off and hope that there'll be a techno fix of some sort that will take care of it. There's not going to be a techno fix for this. I don't know there'll be a techno fix for any of the others either, but there's certainly not going to be a techno fix for the numbers that you're talking about and the needs that these people will have, and the fact that in Memphis there's so much poverty, and that there will be so many of these seniors who who are living on $12,000 a year, but their needs have grown substantially, from health to just to safety, to infrastructure, to other quality of life issues. So it's going to have to be dealt with by our governmental leaders.
Well, Rick, thank you for being on The Best Times, talking about the Plough Foundation's Aging Initiative.
Thank you.
No doubt you're familiar with two famous victims of Parkinson's disease, Michael J. Fox and Alan Alda. But almost 1 million other Americans are living with the disease. For those of us over age 50, the incidence of Parkinson's increases with age. And the combined direct and indirect cost of the disease is put at nearly $25 billion. At present, there is no cure. So let's find out more about living with Parkinson's. What is Parkinson's disease?
Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disease, and what that means is that that area of the brain that's affected by Parkinson's slowly degenerates, and so symptoms become worse over time.
What causes Parkinson's?
There are a combination of factors that lead to Parkinson's. One of those is genetic. There is a genetic component. It's not well understood, and it's not the only cause. There's also environmental factors that come into play. Exposure to pesticides, heavy metal toxins like lead and mercury play a role in Parkinson's. And then there are some studies that have linked repetitive head trauma to Parkinson's.
Who is at risk?
The most common risk factors are increased age. People over 60 have a higher risk of developing Parkinson's. People with men tend to develop Parkinson's more often than women. It's usually about 1.5 times more common in men. Caucasians are higher risk than African American and Asians are.
Are there warning signs?
There are some early warning signs. Unfortunately, most of those signs don't develop until that area of the brain that produces dopamine. That's the mechanism. When you lose dopamine, you lose the ability to control and regulate how your body moves. And so that's what leads you to develop Parkinson's. But before you become symptomatic, before you start showing signs, usually about 60 to 80% of that area of the brain is already lost. So even once you detect the symptoms, the sooner you detect them, the better to start treatment, but the damage is usually pretty significant before you become symptomatic.
How is Parkinson's diagnosed?
There's no clinical test for Parkinson's. So the way Parkinson's is diagnosed is the doctors take an extensive medical history, and then they match that history to the symptoms that you have clinically.
What treatment is available?
Levodopa and carbidopa. And what they are drugs that actually replace the dopamine that's missing from your brain. That's the most common medical treatment that's provided. There are some other drugs that are used on occasion, but they're not as common. Also, some physicians will implant what's called a deep brain stimulator into that area of the brain that does produce dopamine to try to ramp up what production your body has left. And then the other treatment that they're using medically is stem cells. Now that's still in the experimental stage, but what they're doing is actually implanting the stem cells into that area of the brain, having them convert into the cells that produce dopamine and then replacing it that way. And that research is promising, but again, it's still very early in the experimental stage.
Is there any treatment beyond medication?
Physical activity and exercise is very important for maintaining mobility and strength throughout the process. especially those kinds of activities like Tai Chi, dancing, boxing, things that incorporate rhythmic movements tend to delay the onset of symptoms longest.
For more information about Parkinson's disease, go to the website of the Parkinson's Foundation or the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Want more information about life after 50? Go online to watch more shows and find more resources. And send us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. That's all for this edition of The Best Times. Please join us next week for more stories about life after 50. Until then, I'm Chris Hardaway. Thanks for watching. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you.